Oh, good morning to you all, good morning. Saturday, 2nd of September 2023. Got some cloud. Got an indication that we're going to have some rain soon. That will be good. That may save me a certain amount of work today. And, well, what's our thoughts for the day? Well, it's a good day to aspire to live a tranquil life and to work with my own hands. But I think the first thing to do is probably those little domestic things. Tea. Well, it's 7:30. And the rain that we were forecast just didn't happen. So what I've already done is I've done one round of watering. I've got a feeling I'll be doing another couple later. Yesterday I spoke a little bit about blacksmiths. And if you look around our world, we all live a fairly comfortable life because of things that other people have made, whether that's a rotary washing line or a building or whatever. And I think very often we don't think enough about the people that made things and the efforts and the work that they did. Now, restoring old carriages is not everyone's choice. It's great fun, but I understand that not all of you want to do that. But sometimes if you get your hands on bits, and if you become, as it were, intimate with them, you can see how a man made this. I've been dusting this over with the wire wheel to get the rust off it, and as you do so, I don't know if the camera can pick this up, you see marks, and you think, well, that's not very good. Why didn't he polish that all nice and smooth? Well, of course, he was building this to a price, and a little bit of roughness is actually good for helping paint to stick, and, well, that's the way he did it. But those marks can tell us how he made the radius on that piece. This is a piece of the brake gear for the carriage. And he made this with a file. For those of you learning French, a lime. And filing is the verb limer, je lime, to lime. And we can see that somebody dusted that over, put radiuses on it, took the edges off so you can't cut yourself on it. We can see file marks on other pieces of this where he filed a bevel on it. We can also see marks where, he set this funny little kink in the piece of metal. So he would have got it nice and hot, as in dull red, and then put it across the edge of an anvil, boshed it with a big hammer, put the other piece across the edge of an anvil, boshed it and knocked it straight, knocked it about a bit until it was to his satisfaction. This piece, which gives in effect the bearing for the screw that pulls the brake rod, we can see that it's been riveted over, and we can see that it's been filed down. So that one piece actually took quite a lot of work. I've been looking at the corner here to see if I can work out how he did that. Well, that is just forged. It's not a joint. It isn't soldered, welded, glued or screwed or anything like that. That simply was folded over and knocked about, and then presumably afterwards drilled. But there we are. That's an interesting piece to look at, and it teaches us about the man who made it and how he made it. Now, yesterday we looked at the piece of wood that goes there between these two upright brackets, and I think we're going to attempt to restore it, to repair it. I think that's the first plan. We've got fallback plans. If that doesn't work, if it just splits and shatters, well, we might have to do something else. But there are other pieces of wood on this cart. These, I don't know what you'd call them, armrests maybe, mud guards maybe, I don't know. But they are pretty, horrible. Très abîmés. And you know, I've sort of looked at them and I thought, well, can I glue pieces back on there? I guess I could cut them and notch them out, and or I could use them as patterns and make replacement pieces, maybe. But I'm trying to work out what material they are made out of. I don't know, poplar possibly? A softwood anyway. Incidentally, it is supposed to be twisted like that. I've looked at this little cart long enough now that isn't an accident. There is a deliberate sort of rake to it. The irons are bent at different angles so that, yeah, that's why they did it like that. I don't know, but they did. So what I possibly need is a piece of timber to replace that with. Now, have any of you ever heard a little story about what happens if you put new wine in old wineskins? So ideally what I want is a piece of this stuff that was cut 100 years ago. You know, that's the sort of thing you can walk into any do-it-yourself shop, isn't it, and say, have you got a piece of wood? Yes, we've got lots of pieces of wood. What size, what length? One little thing, I want a piece that is about 100 years old. That ain't going to happen, is it? But, you see, Providence works in strange ways. Around about the same time that I got this, you'll remember that I was given some firewood. So let's have a look at some of the firewood. Now look at this. I've got 3 pieces like this. I don't actually know it's 100 years old. It could be younger, but it's old. I know where it came from. it's got to be at least 80 years old, and I need 2 pieces. I've got 3. They're big enough. Too thick, but we can cope with that. So I think we're going to be in the business of making 2 new ones of these. Well, there is a little drop of rain on the windscreen. Not a lot, just enough to have the occasional flick of the wiper. Yeah, and I guess to keep everyone happy, I'll just turn my lights on. I've written a list this morning for things that I want. Cyanoacrylate. I am not sure whether they sell it or not where I'm going, but we'll have a look all along the shelves with all the glues on. As you can see, the sunflowers, well, they're just waiting to be cut. I guess most of that will end up as cooking oil. Sunflower seed oil, I guess. I don't know what they do with the stalks, whether they use it as animal fodder or... I don't know. Not something I've looked into. And on the right, this is very much a feature of this part of the world. Cut trees. They will be left there. Looking at them, they're softwood, so they will be left there for possibly 3 years to dry out before they will go to somewhere to split them and cut them to firewood lengths. No, none of us are promised tomorrow, but it's a jolly good idea to plan for it. You know, if we don't die in the night and we haven't cut firewood today, well, we're going to be cold tomorrow. Actually, we're not. The weather forecast for the next 5 or 6 days is actually summer temperatures, which means I'll be watering the garden 4 times a day and working in my shorts. I'd actually washed my shorts and put them away. You know, the world doesn't need to see my knees, but I think next week we'll have to fish the shorts back out of the drawers. Yes, plan for tomorrow. I think it was Martin Luther who said, if I knew I was going to die today, I would still plant my apple tree. Sorry, if I knew I was going to die tomorrow, I would still plant my apple trees today. And I think that's right, I think that's sensible. We're not promised tomorrow, but it's a good idea to plan for it. Now, there's no cars behind me, so I thought I would stop. Yeah, the camera doesn't really want to focus. A pheasant. So often on this run down to the shops, I see things out of the corner of my eye, and I think you lot would love to see that. But of course, I'm driving. I can't just zoom the camera and show you the eagles and the deer and the hares. You know, you really do need to just come here and experience the whole 360 degrees. So much more satisfying than just seeing it through a very narrow lens of a very small camera. Magpie that just flew across the road. In French, a pie. Crows are corbeaux. I'm slowly learning these things. If you think about it, I bet your neighbours wouldn't be able to give you the name of every bird that flies into your garden. Well, of course, I'm having to learn it all again in French. The wind turbines are turning. One assumes they're generating electricity that one way or another ends up boiling my kettle to make my tea, so I suppose they're a good thing. Little group of charrette huddling together. Right, that sign there, you know, it tells us Yzeures is 3 kilometres, but it also tells us that Descartes is 29 kilometres, which is not very far. And it's the town where René Descartes lived. They named the town after him. It was a different name before he became famous. They named the town in his honour.